This is my hot take of the year. I think
Mine's coming next. Welcome back to Upper 90, where the MLS season is just a few days away, and you know what that means. It is time for MLS predictions, and for that, I've brought on our first ever very special guest to Upper 90, Mr. Favian Renkel, the head of content at Kickbase USA, the new home of MLS Fantasy, and the founder of Footwork.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. Preview time. I always try to avoid this, to be honest, because I don't like to put this out. But for you, man, I will do this.
And we are sorry for all of the horrible takes that are about to come your way, but that is what MLS predictions are for. They're fun. They're never accurate. So let's dive right in. In honor of our move from the West Coast to the East Coast, we are going to start with the Eastern Conference at the very, very bottom. Who do you have finishing in last place, 15th?
Honestly, look, I'm about to get clipped if they hit the playoffs. The New England Revolution are in last place for me. I think this is a team that always has tons of turnover. I still don't believe in the project that is there. Someone has to be at the bottom. I just like the investment from a lot of the other teams. And honestly, I just don't think they have it again another year.
Totally understand that. I have CF Montreal in last place. I feel like they at least learned that youth isn't the answer in MLS, but I don't think they'll win because Owusu is all that they've really got. I do have New England in 14th place, similar to what you were saying. There's no, it's just the youth in New England, right? You've got Marko Mitrovic in. He brought in his youth national team players in Brooklyn Reigns, Griffin Yao, Ethan Kohler, a few guys that used to play under him in the youth national team. But as we saw with Montreal last year, youth is not a route to success in MLS. Who do you have in 14th?
Yeah, look, this one's tough because they were kind of a powerhouse the last couple of years. And to have them this low just kind of screams at me that it's not going to go well early, and they're going to have a new coach by halfway through the season, and that's Orlando City. I think Orlando City is going to be near the bottom of the table this year. I think they have too much turnover this season. Pasalic is a great player, but you need to add other players around him. I don't think he's that guy in an MLS squad that puts you over into the playoff line, especially in the East. I mean, the East is a powerhouse, in my opinion. There's a whole bunch of teams getting better. I just think Orlando got worse.
Yeah, I totally understand that. No more Muriel. He's gone. Alex Freeman off to Villarreal. They did just bring in Griffin Dorsey as that replacement, but probably a drop off there. I totally understand. I have Toronto FC in my 13th place. I think their defense is better and there is creativity, but my question is who is going to score the goals? I do not trust DeAndre Kerr at that number 9. If they bring in Josh Sargent, this is a whole different conversation, but right now it doesn't look like that is going to happen. Then in 12th.
Wait, hold on. At 13th, I actually have Toronto as well.
You do?
Yeah. So we both agree on that. You're right. If they bring in Josh Sargent, it's a completely different conversation. But man, Toronto FC has been in the dumps for the past couple of years. They had it's like when you buy a house in a bad area and then you have a Lamborghini. Oh, now there's no Lamborghini. So you really have to build it brick by brick, as they say. But yeah, Toronto FC, in my opinion, I don't think this is your year. If you get Josh Sargent, okay, maybe we can talk, but I think the future is a little brighter for you guys than this year.
And then in 12th?
And in 12th, I have CF Montreal. I think Montreal has brought in some guys. I believe that they still have a good a good core. They need some superstars. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I want to see an Opoku kind of bounce back season.
Mm-hmm.
The same with Aviles. Owosu is going to do what Owosu does. And I don't know. They brought in Brian Rivera.
Brian Veria.
Yes, I right, me. And I think they're going to be okay. They're not going to move many mountains, but I don't think they're going to be at the bottom.
Definitely have Brian Vera in there to lead the young guys, Brandon Craig, Jalen Neal, who maybe didn't have the smoothest transition. In 12th, I have DC United. Finally, DC is showing some life to me under new managing director of soccer operations. I think that's his title. He spent big, right? Dropped a $10 million bag on Luis Montaigne and spent another nearly $5 million on Ty Baribo from the Supporters Shield winners, Philadelphia Union. Upgraded across the board defensively as well. I think they're going to be better, just not quite good enough to be in the playoffs.
Cool. And at 11th, this is going to shock a lot of people. I'm sorry, guys. But I have Red Bull New York. I think Red Bull New York is, I don't know, man. There's just so many good teams in this Eastern Conference that I don't see any of the other teams kind of dropping off too much. There's still a lot of question marks for this Red Bull team. And I mean, I do like that they have a 3 DPs finally, but maybe they need a gelling year. And it's not like they're holding on to history being that team that's been in the playoffs, 19 plus years anymore. So I don't know. I mean, can Choupo-Moting do it once more? Is Forsberg still here and motivated? Cade Cowell comes in. I do like that. And Ruvalcaba, another guy I do like. But is it enough in this Eastern Conference? And that's kind of my question mark.
I was surprised to hear that with Cade Cowell coming in. We know that you like him.
He's going to ball, but can the defense stay? They got rid of a lot of guys. Michael Bradley's first year, so I mean, he did great in MLS Next Pro, but can he take it another level in MLS? And that's still a question mark to me. So compared to all these other teams, I had to put them somewhere.
That is the question mark to me. I will give you a little hint. I put them much higher, so we can talk about that one again in a little bit. But I also have a shock pick in number 11, and that is the reigning Supporter Shield winners, Philadelphia Union. I think
Get clipped. No.
I think this team absolutely got gutted. You look at last season's top scorer, Ty Baribo, gone. MLS Defender of the Year, former Jacob Glesnes, gone. Two-time Best 11 fullback Kai Wagner, gone. Quinn Sullivan, out long-term with an ACL injury. I mean, that is your entire spine of your team. It's going to be tough to replace that. Yes, they spent a club record fee on Ezekiel Alida, but he's coming very unproven, and the club record fee was still less than $5 million. Yes, Japhet Larson is in for Jacob Glesnes, and he is much more proven, but I still think that you're going to have a drop-off from anybody for Glesnes there, and Wagner has not been replaced. I think it's going to be a big drop-off. It happened in St. Louis under Bradley Carnell in his second year there. I think it's going to happen in his second year here once again.
Are you still making St. Louis comparisons for Bradley Carnell? He's done talking about that, man. A sophomore slump is nowhere in the cards for him because then he's going to get asked more questions about St. Louis. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen. So in my Neverns era, I have DC United. I think they improved quite significantly. You brought up Ty Baribo, all the additions that they have. I think you're going to get Herrera at a certain point where he was an MLS All-Star. I think he's going to be better this year instead of the form he was in last year. And not yet into the playoffs because I still think they need time to gel compared to these other teams. The same thing as the other guys below. But I like the improvements. I think they're going to be in the thick of things by decision day.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Renee Weiler is still new, obviously got to gel with that team. In 10th, I have a team that you had even lower, Orlando City. I think that they are actually stronger in the middle of the park, but I think they're probably weaker at both ends of the pitch. You lost Schlegel, Araujo, Galese, Muriel, all gone. You've replaced about 2 of those people, and only one of them could be argued to be an upgrade with both Cartagena returning and Brian Ojeda signed from RSL. Crepeau, I do like that signing. I don't think he's too far below Galese in my eyes, especially with a World Cup year motivating him.
Yeah.
I also like that they invested in Brazilians there in Orlando, young Brazilians. That is going to be helpful for the fan base.
You like that?
Because there's a lot of Brazilians in Orlando, and they are going to be...
Not a Brazilian named Coutinho.
It's like when LAFC signed Heung-min Son. It's there. If you invest in the community, then you're going to get fans, you're going to get support, and it's going to actually boost you.
What's your Brazilian team, though? That's a real question.
It's a tough one. Probably Palmeiras, but...
Okay.
It's hard to say just because of that Edward Atuesta connection. You know I'm a fan of him. But I'm honestly not even fully sure what this backline fully looks like. Griffin Dorsey did come in, so that definitely is helpful. Maybe that boosts them, but I think it's just a big opportunity for Maguire. If Duncan Maguire can make some headlines, Orlando can make the playoffs again and continue their longest playoff streak in MLS, which is, I believe, at 6 seasons right now, but both of us have them falling off this season.
Man, talk about, Orlando strikers. They've had strikers for the last 4 years, it seems like. Like, there's always a striker in Orlando, but can Maguire kind of get back to that form that he had a couple of years ago? Ramon Enrique left, Muriel left. There's a lot of question marks on this roster still, and I think, I don't know, I kind of would like a big splash from Orlando because this is the last opportunity for kind of head coach, excuse me,
Oscar
Pareja. Thank you. Papi, I was gonna say Papi Pareja. No, and I think if he's not doing well at the beginning of the season, he might be gone because one, they won
It's a hot take.
U.S. Open Cup, and he kind of, this is the issue he had in Dallas. He was always in the mix. He just never could get over that hump, and it might be the same case here in Orlando. And then what I have
let's getting into those playoffs. Tell me who you have 8 and 9 playing against each other in that play-on.
Okay. Well, man, you can see I might have a West Coast bias because in 8 and 9, I have two teams that I'm probably going to watch a lot this year and go to their games. I have the Philadelphia Union in 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think the drop-off is significant, but I think they still find a way to be pestering in the playoffs, and I think they're going to make the playoffs. And then in 8, a team that's had their fair share of injuries, especially losing Alonso Martinez for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Ciala not coming in and really failing a medical, and you can tell by now what team I'm talking about, and that's NYCFC. I think they're going to have a little bit of a drop-off. Talis Magno comes back in. Can he do something for this team? Nico's going to go ahead and play that striker for them. Is it going to work? I don't know. I do think Pascal Jansen's a great coach. Now, can you get the same production out of Maxi Morales one more year? I mean, he's beating Father Time, but at this point, but I still, an 8th playoff spot is still respectable, and I think it showed last year that they can win, 8 once they're in the playoffs. So, that's my 2 picks for 8 and 9.
I think that you are spot on. We totally agree on number 8 there with New York City. I have them as well in that spot. Alonso Martinez out, as you mentioned. Justin Hack also gone to LA Galaxy via free agency. I am more confident in their defense than the team that I have at number 9, which is Atlanta United, though. I think that Atlanta United, their roster is just too good with Tata to not make the playoffs, in my opinion, and that is the only reason that they've snuck in there above Orlando. Lateloth cannot be as bad as he was last year. He came in at the time as an MLS record signing. I just don't see it being as poor as it was last season. Tata back with Miggy. That's going to cook. You got to think so. And then supplemented by Moranchuk and Lobjanitse on those wings. I actually like Hibbert very much, replacing Brad Guzan in that goalkeeper. He is young, but I like him. I've seen him a lot. Unsurprisingly, they didn't invest heavily because they've spent more than any club ever over the past 2 years in MLS. It just doesn't feel super cohesive, which is why I don't think they're any higher. But that's Tata's job to figigure it out and get them in the playoffs.
I mean, I'm a big Tata guy, and you'll see where I have my Atlanta United pick, but I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. I mean, Miggy with Tata is something that was monumental for MLS in the past. Yes, he's older now, but I think you can, get a little spark from him, possibly with an old friend coaching him once more.
Can they repeat history and go back to MLS Cup and win it again like they did in 2018 together? That's the question.
No, I don't know about starting in the East. Oh,
true.
And in 7th place, I have a team that is loaded with talent, and I have a team which, in reality, they should be nowhere near this spot. But the reality is their head coach left for greener pastures, and it was a
greener, pun intended.
And this is the Columbus Crew. I think the Columbus Crew have too much talent to drop out of the playoffs with Wessam and Diego Rossi and Gazdak.
Yeah.
Even my boy Max, Arston, excuse me. And
it's one of the most stacked attacks in the league. It really is on paper.
I really think that, this team is very, they lost some depth with losing Jason Russell-Rowe. But I still think this team is going to do all right. I think this team is deadly. They're going to score 5, and then they're going to give up 3, every game. And I think that this is a team that can shock some people in the playoffs, but they may pitter-patter and at some point, being number 7 by the end of the season.
And those, I think, are a couple things that you called. You told me a couple days before Jason Russell-Rowe was sold that it was going to happen, that you could see him going. You've also reported that Max Arston has received offers from abroad. That I assume is going to continue. Maybe the Columbus Crew decide to let him go at some point in the season, and that is why I have the exact same pick as you. Again, 7th and 8th, we're right in stride with each other. I like Wessam Abul Ali. I think he's going to be very good. I expect a bounce back season for Daniel Gazdag. I just don't think that he's going to get benched again like he did last season. But, you have a lot of competition in that team. You have Hugo Picard, Taha Brun just trying to get into that team because it's such a stacked offensive team. And so that's why I, again, don't think that they're going to finish higher than last year, but not lower either.
Yeah, I think they might be one of the teams with the most depth, if I'm not mistaken. every single position almost has a starter and a person that's fighting for that starting role. So definitely full of depth there in Columbus. And then number 6, who do you have?
Yeah, number 6 is an interesting one. It's the one that you thought wasn't going to be as high. It's Red Bull New York. Am I biased because I just moved to New York? We're going to see, I guess.
No.
But I like all of the upgrades. They upgraded on the wings, as you mentioned, Cade Cowell, Ruvel Kaba. They upgraded at goalkeeper with Ethan Horvath. They have tons of options at fullback now, which means that whoever wins that starting spot is probably going to be in form, playing well. The only question for me is at center back, which is obviously very important, but there's a lot of experience there, but my only question is the age too much? We're gonna have to see, but don't forget, this team made MLS Cup in 2024. So just because true, and we'll see where I have them when we get to the Western Conference, but they just missed the playoffs for the first time in 15 years last year. I don't think they're gonna miss it again. I think they're gonna be back. I hope they are back because it's going to be my first season covering them. What about you?
What did I hear some disrespect to the MLS Cup legend John McCarthy? Okay, upgrade
J-Mac Daddy, no disrespect.
upgrade a goalkeeper? Please, we don't even know that yet. Yeah, but in my 6th spot, I have a team that maybe could shock the world in the summer transfer window. A team that could possibly bring in a huge reinforcement because he's been linked to it.
Foreshadowing?
But I truly think that 1 to 6 is actually really hard in the Eastern Conference.
It is.
I think it's basically a toss-up. I'm kind of on the side of maybe they don't get him, so I have them 6, and that's the Chicago Fire, and I was talking about Robert Lewandowski. I think if the Chicago Fire get Lewandowski in the summer transfer window, of course, they're going to be closer to the top. But as of right now, Berhalter and the guys that they have in Chicago with Robin Lod coming in, Bamba, I think this is a team that could easily, turn some heads, but also at the same time, still Berhalter.
Ooh, okay, throwing some shade, I see.
Got rid of Brian Gutierrez. You benched him in the first playoff game, and then you kind of went back on your thought process there, and then it was too late, So
I got it.
Berhalter's gonna Berhalter, and whether you like bounce passes or not, all right.
All right, well, we'll see. Got $5 million for Brian Gutierrez. We'll see. Talking about another interesting manager in Charlotte, I have 5th place, Dean Smith. Always put your faith in Dean Smith. He is not going to disappoint. Sure, they're probably going to have a slight drop-off without Adilson Malanda there at the center back. That's why I have them in 5th, not 4th. But I love bringing De La Torre back to MLS. I think it's a clever move, and I really think he fits in Charlotte. It's a classy player. It's a classy club. Just feels right.
Yeah. You think he's going to be on the throne a couple of games? Maybe player that can match for Charlotte?
Hey, if things go well, absolutely. But they also fully acquired Pep Biel there. He's going to be on the throne a lot. Wolf Zaha is only going to be better, in my opinion, than last year. Some people don't like his mentality. I love it. We'll see exactly how that plays out.
Yeah, for me, number 5 is actually Charlotte. I have them similar, not the same, but similar in that idea. Dean Smith always finds a way, man. And this defense, the fans singing Pepas before the game. It's a vibe out there in Charlotte, and I think they have a great home field advantage. I think Zaha is going to have a little bit of maybe kind of an attitude towards the league this year. And I kind of want him to pop off, really back up what he's talking about, where he doesn't feel protected and he needs to start adjusting the way he plays to make sure that he's able to keep playing. So, no, I definitely want to see a little bit of more spice from this team. I know that's hard to say, but the spicier they get, the better they are, in my opinion. So, Charlotte, kind of like the bad boys club of the Eastern Conference, and I like them for that.
So that's 3 teams now that we've had in the same exact spot.
No, that Charlotte was in 5 for me.
Charlotte's in 5 as well for me.
Nope.
So moving into 4th place then, who do you have in 4th? Another team that we lined up on?
No, I don't think so. I think in 4th, I'm the biggest Tata Martino fan.
Okay.
And I think you can't have 40 to 50,000 people at your stadium and be bad 2 years in a row. I think I'm high on Atlanta. I'm high on the vibes. I'm high on the 5 stripes.
It's a hot take.
I think Tata, this is even a hotter take, could go down with a very long career in MLS, but as possibly one of the best MLS coaches of all time. Yes, he's had fracasos, is what we say in Spanish, some failures. Yes, he's had some heights, But if he could do something again with Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
who knows? We might be looking at a guy who, if he has a career as long as Bruce, maybe where he's in the conversation, right?
Totally.
And I just think with, like you said earlier, Latte Loth, Miranchuk, Miggy, they can't have a worse year. And I think bringing in a guy like Tata just brings hope to this team, and that's sometimes all you need. Of course, you need a back line too, but I think hope is where you get started.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's such a power play when you're looking at the summer transfer window. If you can gain some flexibility and bring in some crazy defender after the World Cup, I think this team will start looking more complete as the season goes on. But again, Tata did it without Messi when Messi was injured after the Copa America. And I saw a way that Tata really could take some MLS guys and really make a difference. So with Miggy again, I just think I like that pick at 4 for Atlanta.
Yeah, he definitely knows the league as well as any coach in the world, probably. He did it before with Atlanta. He did it with Inter Miami. Can he do it again with Atlanta and make himself in that upper echelon all time? I could see it happening. But yeah, still some question marks defensively in that team, definitely. In fourth, I have the perennial contenders, FC Cincinnati. They did lose Brenner. They brought in Ayub Jabari, but really it's about Evander and Kevin Denke there.
Yeah.
We know it is. That's what it is. They run that city. Evander has been an MVP finalist the past 2 seasons. I believe he went from 3rd place to 2nd place. Can he win it this year in 1st place? We'll have to see. The similar thing for FC Cincinnati themselves. They finished top 3 in the East the past 3 seasons. I have them finishing just outside of there this time. Who do you have in 3rd?
Third, do you want to go third first? Because this is another one that we have the same.
No way.
Yeah, so that's 4 that we have the same. But I can start with that.
And this is a hot take in 3rd for both of us, but let us know who it is.
So have you guys ever heard of a team called Inter Miami?
Ooh. The team with the greatest roster of all time, you've put in 3rd place?
Yeah, honestly, I think this is a situation where this team just knows how to win. And they don't really care about lifting up another support shield. Honestly, I think they know if they are in the upper echelon of Eastern Conference teams and they can kind of knock off some of the other guys, which they showed last year with beating Cincy in Cincy with the route. I don't think you even worry about where you place in the playoffs this year. You even probably might see Messi be rested a little more this season. I think they're still going for CONCACAF Champions Cup, so I think their eyes are definitely on that trophy more than this Supporter Shields race or the standings of the MLS.
Yeah, I totally agree with your reasoning there. I think that they're going to be extremely focused on the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That is what they're in. Jorge Mas has made it no secret that he is trying to build the best roster, not only in MLS, but in all of the Americas. He's getting there because he's already created the best super team in MLS history on paper. There's no question about it. They are the MLS Cup favorites. But will they win the Supporter Shield? I don't think so because, as you say, they've already done it. It's just not their focus. They're going to be focused on those cups more than they are the Shield. That's why I have them all the way down in 3rd place. In 2nd place, let me know who you have because I know that my 2nd place is similar to what you have coming up.
Yeah, look, I'm looking at your computer and I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder who you have in the first place because my 2nd place is Cincinnati. I think you go into the season saying no to some crazy transfer offers for your superstars, Evander and Denke, and you gotta back it up, man. And if you don't back it up, it's gonna be tough sledding because you could have made a fortune selling these guys. I mean, probably would pay for like a 1/10 of the stadium if you sold Evander. So no, I think FC Cincinnati is always good under Pat Noonan. They know how to win. Evander's becoming a superstar in this league. You want to keep stars in this league, and what the confidence that they did in this transfer window, winter transfer window, just has to ooze in the fan base. It just has to ooze into the locker room that no, this is where we're gonna win, no matter what anybody throws at us. And I think with these defenders kind of coming back to health and Hagelin being available as well, and Miazga being healthy again, Miles Robinson being the same, I just think this team looks great on paper. The spine's really good. It's Celentano, and then you have Evander in midfield and Denke up top. I just like him in 2nd place.
And then you have a little bit of a warm take in first place. I have them in second, but I'll let you go ahead with first so that I don't.
Oh, okay. Dang, you're about to. Yeah, if you didn't realize it, I think the trident that is the best in MLS and possibly in MLS history is kind of crazy, but the best in MLS right now, this trident right now of Nashville SC, Hani Mukhtar, Sam Surridge, and Christian Espinoza, they're going to score a lot of goals, and they're going to connect all three of them. I think Espinoza is going to have so many secondary assists, or Hani Mukhtar is going to have a crazy amount of secondary assists because they count him in MLS. And I think this is going to be a situation where these three guys are just balling. No matter who's behind them, they're just going to be scoring goals. And I don't know if there's a single back line who can cover every single guy perfectly, right?
Absolutely not.
And don't forget, you had Andy Nahar, you had Mejia Callahan's new system, or not new, but offensive system.
Mm-hmm.
I just like this team completely. I mean, you lose some dead weight in Walker Zimmerman, which I think is okay for this team. But again, and I also think I think that Miami is going to take them out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to full on kind of put all their eggs in the Supporter Shield basket and really kind of pull away in the standings while other teams have other priorities. And I think we learned with Philly last year that it's hard to kind of get back those points.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nashville's going to do the same.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Christian Espinoza, the biggest intra-league free agent, landed by Nashville, and really probably the biggest signing in the league next to a certain Colombian in Minnesota. But I just don't see holes in this team. Maybe they do win the Shield, but you know what? I have the Chicago Fire winning the Supporter Shield this season. And yes, buy your Chicago Fire stock right now. They are going up, and further up. Is it a bit ambitious to say they're going to top the East? Sure it is. But outside of Miami, nobody in MLS scored more goals than Chicago last season. As you mentioned earlier, Brian Gutierrez is gone, but they've made a sneaky good signing, in my opinion, in Robin Lod, who can easily put up those same numbers, and he brings extra experience to that midfield and the locker room. They've also invested that U22 slot that Brian Gutierrez was occupying where it's needed, and that is in the defense. I have heard great things about South African international, and let me pronounce this correctly, Mbekazeli Mbokazi. I am buying in to that. They also brought in another U22 attacker, Puso Dithajane. Again, not sure if I got that one right. Not even a starter, though, in this team. That's how good the attack is. Zinkernagel obviously had a great year. Hopefully he can replicate that. Kuipers is going to be Kuipers. But you have questions about Berhalter? I may too at the national team level, not in MLS. He proved it to me last year that he can do it. Now he just needs to solidify that defense, which was not as much of a problem at the national team. It was more that he never let the creative players play in the front. And so Philadelphia, they finished 12th in 2024. Then they went and won the Shield. Why can't Chicago do it from 8th place this season? I think they can, but either way, if it's me or you, it's going to be a former USMNT manager lifting that Supporter Shield this season.
And honestly, I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, you think Berhalter is going to get, in trouble with a young starlet again this season and find a way to ruin the chemistry in the locker room? Or is he going to be able to finally put his ego maybe behind him and lift an MLS Cup, or at least a Supporter Shield? So it's interesting.
Yeah, and they got Saletros in midfield as well, a Swedish international to supplement as well. I just think across the board, things are very steady. Gutman, and Elliott was good, but I think he can be even better. You put Mbakazi next to him. Chris Brady just gets better year on year. And yeah, as we've mentioned, those DPs around Robin Lod up front, it's going to work well, in my opinion. And they're going to be very focused on winning that Shield. It's something that I think Berhalter will care about. So we have a hot take, both of us.
Yeah.
But let's see. It's always a hot take. Nobody expected Philly to win it last year, and that's what happened. So why can't they? Before we get into the Western Conference, though, Favi, I wanted to ask you a couple questions about Kickbase, which you are obviously the new head of content for. How has that been launching Kickbase in the United States, the new home of MLS fantasy?
Yeah, honestly, it's been awesome, man. I couldn't have done it without you here in New York, so I'm very appreciative that you're here. We're roommates, by the way. Hey, it's like an MLS sicko house, man.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure, and it's been super fun living in New York. I'm excited, man. I'm excited because this is a project that we were passionate about even before we got these jobs, because we used to talk about how MLS fantasy could be so much better, and I think we're on a team that I think is trying to do that the best. So yeah, I mean, the season's coming up. You could get started. You can invite your friends. The biggest thing is it's another vehicle to kind of grow MLS and grow the sport in the United States as much as we can. So no, yeah, I'm 100% excited. We have 100 actions for every single game. It's backed by Opta Stats. So yeah, it's going to be a blast. We're going to be playing it. We're going to have challenges. Hey, maybe one day we have a number 90 challenge. We'll find out. But it's going to be a good time, and I'm glad that we're kind of tackling it together.
We will definitely have an upper 90 league at least this year, but it is limited. So get in as soon as you can. I will put the link in the bio. I will
Get it while it's hot.
Get it while it's hot. I will post it in the bio. But as you mentioned, we've been talking about this for a while. MLS Fantasy was waiting for this upgrade. Now the largest platform for fantasy in Germany has taken over, and that 100 actions to me is so crucial. We're finally going to get a defensive midfielder, for example, is going to be valued as they should be valued in this game. Never have they been useful in fantasy games,
Right.
but in Kickbase, they are. You get points for every action basically in the game. Fantastic addition as well. You can have live league tables as you see in fantasy football. Your league is going to change second by second. Your points are going to adjust. It's a wonderful second screen to have when you're watching MLS. So we absolutely invite you to download it and join the Upper 90 League. And let's hop into the Western Conference at the very bottom. And I will start this time. I have Sporting Kansas City. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, Favi, if you have the same team down here, because they have to be the wooden spoon favorite, right? They have 20 players on their roster. They just don't have enough players on the roster for me to say that they're ready to go. They have a ton of rebuild to do under Rafael Vicky, and we'll see when that happens. Maybe they're just waiting till the summer window after the World Cup when things open up and you can sign a bunch of players. Maybe that's what they're looking for. But right now, Dejan Joveljic is basically alone in that team.
Yeah, look, a lot of New York City FC fans say this is David Lee, man. He doesn't like to sign players. And I hate that it's, going into the narrative, but no, 100%. The last guy I have, or the last team I have in my Western Conference is 100% Sporting Kansas City. And I think they're going to have issues this year. They're trying to sell the team. Or is someone going to buy it?
I was going to say, who wants to buy it right now?
Yeah.
It's a very historic club, so there's a lot of a big fan base. You would want to buy it for that reason. But
at this point, you just want to call them the Wizards, maybe.
You might get a cheaper price if you want to buy them right now.
Yeah.
But they don't even have players on the roster.
Yeah, you have Jake Davis and Dejan Joveljic. That's really it.
Yeah, Shaloy's nice, but is he going to ever be what he was? No.
Yeah.
And then in 14th, who do you have?
14, let's go across the pond. Or not across the pond, but across the state line.
Okay.
Yeah, in St. Louis City SC. I think
whatever we call that rivalry now, down at the bottom, fighting for last place.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to me, man. Like, they got a great lump sum for Joe Klaus, but at the end of the day, did you get better? Yeah, maybe you brought in Mamadou Fall. You get better on the defense. You keep Berkey. But I don't know, man. I just don't think that this offense can get back to what they were 2 years ago. Even then, when Hurdle came in and they had those, kind of like a little hot streak at the end of that 2024 season, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know if they can get back to that.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. I have them slightly higher than you, but not too much higher. We'll get there soon. I have FC Dallas in 14th place. And I got burned last season thinking that Eric Quill was going to build something special after what he did in USL. And he had Petar Musa and he had Lucho Acosta. And then that was a complete disaster with Lucho Acosta. I have no more faith in that team until they are able to replace Lucho Acosta with a true creative player. Petar Musa is going to be Petar Musa. He's fantastic. But if you don't have anybody else in that team creating in the way that the former MVP did, then you're going to be in big trouble. Luciano Acosta couldn't do it. They were actually better once Luciano Acosta left, but they need some help. Right now, I am selling all of my Dallas stock.
Yeah, I actually have them a little higher, and I'll tell you a reason later.
Yeah.
For me, 13 is the team I grew up watching when I was a kid. I have Timo Werner and the boys, the San Jose Earthquakes, and Bruce Arena's team at 13th. I think I have a lot less faith in this team just because I grew up watching them. I understand that this team never performs to what people want it to.
Yeah.
Even the fan base understand. But I'm more pessimistic on the San Jose Earthquakes than a lot of people. I like the young guys. Don't get me wrong. I think Nico Sekiris, Bo LaRue, and Oseni Buddha, they have a good, solid young core. It's just they need a couple more years to kind of brew in the league, I think, and kind of really reach their true potential. And, Preston Judd running out there with Timo Werner is like, unless you have a Danny Musovski situation where he plays out of his mind, it's going to be tough for Timo to kind of find any sort of chemistry. He's still not with the team yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going to have a slow start, and then we're going to hear the same kind of, things that we hear about guys coming in late. Oh, he didn't have a full preseason with us. And,
Excuses here, excuses there.
And I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I have the San Jose Earthquakes at 13.
Yeah, once again, I have them just a couple places higher, but I totally agree with what you're saying about Preston Judd. You can't trust him as the number 9. And I have 3 words for you. Addition by subtraction?
Yeah. Shocking.
This is what Bruce Arena said in a press conference, that that he believes that San Jose has made addition by subtraction, assuming in reference to the losses of Christian Espinoza and the loan of Chicho Arango.
Yeah.
I have no idea how those are addition by subtraction. Very confusing quote from Bruce Arena. But in 13th place, I have another perennial bottom dweller, the Colorado Rapids. I do like the signing of Hamzat Ojediran. He is being touted as the next Obina Nwobodo. If that is true, fantastic. His nickname's the Destroyer. I think he's going to be probably the best signing, although I do like Dante Sheely as well. Just don't know if he'll be able to have quite the numbers in Colorado. But it just does feel a little bit too young across the board. You do have Rob Holding in the back, but is he even going to start? Probably, maybe not. But really, it's about Matt Wells to me. You have a brand new coach who's implementing a brand new style of play. It's going to be high octane, high pressing, lots of running. That's great for the young players. And if it works in the altitude, it's going to be brutal for opponents. But whether it works is a massive question. And if it doesn't, things could go very, very wrong in Colorado.
Yeah, look, I haven't seen much from Paxton Aronson. I think it's kind of tough to say he hasn't been truly a success in MLS, but I don't know. With the new coach at the helm for Colorado, Cole Bassett gone, this team's going to need leadership, and I don't know if they have that. So I actually don't have them at 13th, but I do have them at 12th.
There you go.
And I think this is something where Justin kind of explained a lot of it. I feel the same sentiment. So I think we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 12th, I have the Portland Timbers. We just mentioned Cole Bassett. He is on his way to Portland, replacing the outgoing David Ayala to Inter Miami. That's an interesting one to me. It kind of makes sense. Bassett's maybe a little bit more forward playing than Ayala is. And when you have Diego Chara pushing 40, still returning for another MLS season.
Chasing history.
That is unbelievable, truly, that he is still going to play. But he is also did not start the majority of games last season.
Right.
Is not going to start the majority of games this season. They are extremely good in the wide spaces. Their wingers, their fullbacks, I love. But can Felipe Mora or Kevin Kelsey become a 15-goal scorer? I'm not really sure. That's a big question mark after they've just bought out Cabecita. They do obviously have a lot of flexibility because of that buyout. They could go the 4U22 route. They could go another DP and spend big. We'll see. David DaCosta is also out to start the season. He should be back relatively soon. But as you mentioned with San Jose, those early starts sometimes do impact things. And it's going to be interesting. I will mention, by the way, quickly in 11th, I do have those San Jose Earthquakes that you had a little bit lower. We mentioned it. Preston Judd doesn't make sense as the starting number 9. Timo Werner needs somebody to play off. Timo Werner is best as that second striker. If you can have him as a second striker, he can do well, but you need a striker for him to play off, and Preston Judd is not that.
Yeah, I wanted to add on Diego Chara. I mean, he's at 426 appearances and has the most for a single club. Nick Ramondo's at 514. Do you think he could catch him?
I don't think
Three more
so.
years?
That's a few more. It might be a couple years too many. It's a little bit easier when you're a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can play a little bit later into your career. But who is up next for you?
In 11, I had the Portland Timbers.
Oh, wow.
The same kind of sentiment. I'm just one off, basically, of all your picks. I think, Portland could be in trouble real fast. I think the Portland Timbers, you're expecting Kelsey and Anthony to kind of really jump into MLS superstars this year, and it's going to be tough. And I think you lose Crepeau in the back. It was a defense that wasn't good to start last year, right? Mm-hmm. And Phil Neville's never been able to have a great defensive team. This could be a situation where Phil Neville starts really bad.
Yeah.
DaCosta's injured.
Yeah.
And he might be gone before the World Cup.
That'd be interesting. They have, as you mentioned, continually struggled on set pieces. I remember having a conversation with Kamal Miller and Crepeau a couple years ago, and they both were talking about how they wanted to fix it, and they still haven't fixed it a couple years later. They did score one against LAFC in preseason, so maybe they're fixing that, but we're going to have to see. It is interesting, though. We have basically the same teams there at the bottom. It's kind of we're kind of tiered there. We have below 10, we have the same teams.
Yeah, actually, that's really funny. Yeah, all the same teams below 10.
Yeah.
Because my 10th pick is FC Dallas.
There you go.
I think FC Dallas is a team that is going to be okay with Peter Musa, or Pitar Musa, excuse me. But once he leaves after the World Cup because he makes the Croatia team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This team's going to be in shambles. I mean, I'm expecting Logan Farrington to kind of step up, and he played that second striker last year, if I'm not mistaken, for the FC Dallas. So they do believe they have something with him. So it won't be like a complete drop-off, but just looking at this roster after Pitar Musa leaves, it's going to be barren. I mean, pretty barren. I think Pomkel, you've been waiting how many years now? Like, I know he's had some crazy injuries, but this team, to me, just looks like it's missing a lot of players, and I think, oh man, you remember the days of Velasco, Lucho Acosta, even. I mean, it didn't work, but I mean, just the sheer names that they're missing nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Patrick Delgado. I just don't know if he's enough in midfield. You have Kayik, you have Capis. Is it going to balance out? Well, you like Kamungo, but the center backs, Ibiaga's maybe the leader there. I mean, Urdidige is very good, but yeah, it's just a lot of question marks, as you mentioned.
But
and it's interesting because the team rounding out our bottom tier, I have St. Louis in 10th place.
Yeah, that's funny.
As you mentioned, they sold João Klaus without replacement. Hopefully, Cedric Teucher can bounce back as that number 9, scoring. Hartel and Loven, I'm a fan of both of them. And as you mentioned, I love the signing of Mamadou Fall. I've seen him a lot in Los Angeles.
And Loven's going to play some more games this year. Yeah, he was gone for a family issue, if I'm not mistaken, and he should be. I remember seeing a press conference with him and saying thank you to the St. Louis fans, so he should be around more.
He definitely will be. That's good point, and that's why I have them just on the edge of playoff contention. I think they'll be fighting for it, but I think they're going to just miss out on that playoff spot. Potentially, it'll come down to decision day.
But that's so funny that we have every single team that's not making the playoffs exactly the same, just in different places.
Yeah, which means we must have the same playoff teams as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Starting with that play-in of 8 and 9, who do you have playing against each other in that play-in game?
This is a little tough for me because I'm making an on-the-fly change, okay?
Oh, wow.
Because yesterday I was on a team's podcast, and I kind of talked myself into that one. And what I'm going to start with is...
I see the edits live on the computer right now.
My bad. I have number 9 as a team that, with the same mentality of FC Dallas, they're going to struggle in the second half of this MLS season because their superstar is the one and only Moonman Diego Luna. I have RSL barely making the playoffs because it's going to be hard to recover when you lose the heart and soul of your team, and one could say the heart and soul of MLS, or heart and soul of the USMNT too.
Certainly the nose of MLS.
Exactly, and I just don't see him staying. I mean, he's gonna have an important moment in the World Cup and maybe score a goal or two, and the buzz for him is gonna go insane. And I could see a La Liga team picking him up pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. They've already sent Obed Vargas and Alex Freeman to La Liga. Diego Luna could easily be next. I totally see that. And you have them playing against who?
I have them playing against a team that should be a lot higher in this list. A team that, coming into this season, I really thought they were contenders again. And unfortunately, what happened to this team was they lost their heart and soul already. Again, for the second year in a row. And this team is the LA Galaxy. Losing Ricky, it always sucks. I mean, there's no way you can kind of move forward and be okay with losing Ricky for a second season. Even bringing the guys that they brought in, I like them. Don't get me wrong. But if you had Ricky with those guys, we're looking at a team that's competing with LAFC, Vancouver, big teams, and even for CONCACAF. So it's so unfortunate. I don't think they're going to be bad necessarily, but I think they're going to be in the playing game.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. And we, once again, have our first one. We had a few in the Eastern Conference. We have our first same pick in the Western Conference at number 9. I also have Real Salt Lake. I just think that they, like Orlando that we talked about in the Eastern Conference, they are one of 2 teams to make the playoffs each of the last 5 seasons. I think they'll actually sneak in once again. They did spend $5 million on Guilavogui to replace Ron Cruz as that DP striker. Xavier Gozo, I think, is going to have an incredible year. I think he's probably the favorite for Young Player of the Year heading into the season. And then, of course, as you say, Diego Luna, if he stays, they could be higher.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's a very likely
if I was a betting man, it's probably 95% that he's gone.
Wow, that's strong. I totally see where you're coming from. He can absolutely have a breakout moment at the World Cup like he's had previously under the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, the last year we saw him have the most USMNT caps for any American.
That is a mind-blowing stat.
Which is insane. I mean, he's guaranteed a spot. I mean,
and he had the most goal contributions as well, I believe.
Yeah, so I think this guy's guaranteed to be on the roster. And with that type of amplification of him, he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
I love MLS and I love this league, but at the end of the day, if you have that opportunity to go to Europe after a World Cup, you're going to take it.
Yep.
No matter what player you are.
And Diego Luna has the mentality to succeed there as well. I think we can both agree.
Yeah.
I have, in playing Real Salt Lake, not the LA Galaxy, but another team that a lot of people might think would be higher, Minnesota United. And this is an interesting one. They lost Dane St. Clair. They lost Robin Lod, but they obviously upgraded on Robin Lod with a guy named James Rodriguez, the absolute coup of the offseason, blockbuster move. They've somehow brought him in without using a DP spot. That somehow is because it's a 6-month lease on him until the World Cup. What's going to happen after the World Cup? Will he stay? Will he go? We're going to have to see. But really, the reason I have them dropping off is because Eric Ramsey's gone.
Yep.
And that means that they're going to transition under Cameron Knowles to a more possession-based style, not only because nobody's going to play as defensively as Eric Ramsey, but also because you have to. You have James, you have Joaquin Pereira, you have 2 extremely creative number 10s in one team. You have to be able to fit them in there, and that's going to be playing on the ball more than they did with Eric Ramsey. They're not going to be a LA Galaxy, for example, but they're going to certainly try and do that. So I think there might be a little bit of a rocky patch there, and the big question marks around James staying and losing the reigning goalkeeper of the year. I do have them having a slight fall off there.
It's interesting because there is a world where he stays.
There is a world where he stays, and that world is a very exciting one because James is a very entertaining player. He's a very entertaining person. He's going to bring headlines wherever he goes, and he has obviously already done that to Minnesota. And I think that you have mentioned this many times on your podcast tour that you've been going on. He coming to Minnesota is a real statement for MLS.
100%.
And tell us why.
Yeah, I just think if you told me 5 years ago, James Rodriguez, the man who cooked Uruguay in the 2014 World Cup, is coming to play for Minnesota United.
By the way, in case you're wondering.
Sorry. I have nightmares, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. No, but seriously, I'm very happy that he didn't go to Miami or a New York. Actually, New York would have been nice, but like in LA. And for sake of argument, I think MLS is in a place where they don't have to chomp at the bits for these guys anymore. With Thomas Mueller going to Vancouver and Royce going, or forcing his way to the Galaxy, but as a TAM, and then Zaha going to Charlotte, I truly think that this league has shown that it's going to hold their ground. You know, they want to go ahead, and the European stars want to play here, so they have to play by the rules.
Yeah, and stars aren't just limited to the LA, New York, Miami markets anymore. Right. They're going all over the league. So I guess that brings us to the true playoff teams in 7th place. Who do you have?
Yeah, look, this is the change I had on the fly because I think the Houston Dynamo can shock some people this year. I have them slated at 9, and I kind of thought to myself, I was on a Dynamo podcast yesterday, and I was really thinking, I mean, this is really make or break for Ben Olsen and Pat Austin. I think both of these guys need to perform. They brought it back in Hector Herrera. They got Guilherme, who just scored a hat-trick in preseason. I know it's preseason, but a hat-trick anytime is pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, they got Matty Bogusz. They kind of just got out of nowhere like 4 players that could really change a lineup and change kind of the outlook of a roster. And they have Jack McGlynn still. So if Matty Bogusz and Jack McGlynn can find the correct way to play together, I know you were telling me off air when Bogusz you talked to him in LA where he wanted to play the 10.
Yep.
Maybe he has to play the 10 in Houston and Jack McGlynn has to find kind of another position, which is similar to Minnesota where you have 2 good ball playing 10s. So interesting, but I still think with this talent, looking at it like realistically, I just think they're better than everybody outside of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'll have a little bit more to say on Houston in a bit. But in 7th, I have San Diego FC, the conference toppers from their inaugural season last year. Why are they so low in 7th? I think a couple reasons. First of all, Chucky Lozano is not in their plans, their first ever massive DP signing. He produced for them last season, and if he's not in the team, that is a loss. Granted, they looked fantastic in their Champions Cup opener against Pumas, absolutely walking through that one. But I also think potentially maybe some coaches figure them out a little bit. Not fully, because I think Mikey Varas has a clear tactical game plan. He knows what he wants to do. But I think that generally, normally what we see is a team struggling in their first year and having a resurgence in their second season in MLS. But we have also seen St. Louis City, for example, if a team does extremely well in their first season, that maybe they can't replicate that in year 2. I still think they're a playoff team. Anders Dreyer is still going to carry them there. They have fully acquired a few players, Luca Bombino, Oni Valkari, among others, to bring back. So I still think their core is there, but and again, this could look stupid if they replace Chucky with a big name DP,
which could come,
but they first have to get Chucky out the door, and then they have to bring in. So it's a process, and I don't think that'll happen until summer at the very earliest. And that's why I have them down in 7th place.
Yeah, it's tough in MLS to have any dead weight DP. I mean, it's kind of proven. Look at like Douglas Costa. You remember that?
The worst DP in MLS history, arguably.
No, I don't know about that, but he was dead weight for a long time, and it's just shocking to you can't really do much with a dead weight DP. And I think Dreyer is good enough where this team's still a playoff team. Man, I just feel bad for all those fans that bought Chucky Lozano jerseys. Right?
I know. San Diego FC should do a buyback of some
kind. Some sort, right?
But he did produce a lot in that first year, made a historic first year, so he was still part of history there. He was still a very meaningful player.
But in my 6, I have San Diego.
Okay,
so to go ahead and reiterate on your facts, I think, they're going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump. It's hard to, have a dead weight DP, like I was saying, and maybe they fill in the spot, at the summer mark, but then they really only have like 10 games for that other DP.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough for them to kind of ramp up in the playoffs, but not to their full potential.
Yeah. No, it's definitely better. Normally they're 10 games after that final window closed now because of the World Cup break. They maybe have 20, which is definitely helpful, like we were discussing earlier, for those summer transfers, but I don't think it'll be quite enough for San Diego FC to crack that top 5 as they did before. In 6th place, I have Austin FC. Finally, Rodolfo Borrell is showing me some moves. I have been waiting for this since he came in and he had that quote about all of the coaches in the world wanting to come to Austin FC, and then he hired Nico Estevez. I was underwhelmed. But here we are. He has gotten a Polish club to play a club record transfer fee for Osman Bukhari, and that, my friend, is wizardry. That is incredible.
But I was talking to a couple of Austin people, and they were saying that Bukhari was pretty flashy. So he was fun in person, but obviously didn't have the stats to back it up.
And that is how you get a player sold.
Yeah.
You create a highlight reel of those flashy moments, and you send it on over to Poland, and you say, give me $6.5 million.
You take a walk to Poland real quick?
Absolutely. But they've replaced him with somebody who's exponentially better. I think we can agree. And Facu Torres, you have been very highly praising him.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about Austin later.
Yeah, because I think he's a fantastic signing, and you pair him up with Brandon Vasquez, who's returning from his ACL injury and has been very vocal about wanting a bounce-back season. I see that for him. I see a partnership between the two. Owen Wolff is 1 year older, less on his shoulders, more freedom in the attack. I think that is only beneficial when he obviously comes back from that sports hernia surgery. Jadon Nelson, another smart signing. Not that he was particularly cheap for Austin, but...
I mean, cheap when you're looking at Griffin Dorsey.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, they're a pretty similar price, right? I think Jadon Nelson was a little bit more, actually.
Yeah, like 1.4.
But you're paying for a winger rather than a fullback.
Exactly.
I totally get where you're coming from there. I think they've made some good moves. I just don't know if they can crack that top five. Maybe they can. Maybe I'm being a little conservative, but I honestly think this is a fair position.
So they were 6th last year.
Right. And that's
without Brandon Vasquez.
Without Brandon Vasquez.
And
without Facu Torres.
Without Facu Torres.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's so interesting about this to me, is because I still look at the 5 teams that I have above them and just on paper and say these teams are better, and I'm also more confident in their coaches than I am in Austin. But it's not that I don't think Austin has improved. I think they have heavily. That's why it's so interesting to me.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about Austin a little later. In my 5, I have Minnesota United. I think James is going to stay, and that's why I have them higher. But everything that Justin said, I do think they're going to, adjust this team to be a James team. And I think they're going to have their stadium rocking. James is going to get up there and sing Wonderwall with him. All right?
All right. In English?
In English, all
right? I'm ready.
And all the Colombians are going to join into it. It's going to be a party over there, a fiesta or a party, either way you want to say it. But that's who I have at 5. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We said it earlier. And then in 4, we're looking at the upper echelon teams. For me, my apologies. You have 5. Let's go with 5 for you.
Yeah, it's similar to what you were saying earlier. I believe that you had my 5 in 8, and I had my 8 in your 5, something like that. It is the LA Galaxy. Yes, Ricky Puig is gone, but they've done a lot more than they did last season to fix that or replace him in the likes of João Klaus, as you mentioned, filling that DP slot. Do I believe that João Klaus is the best DP that you can get? Probably not, but he's going to be just a DP for this year, and then they're going to figure it out afterwards. And it really does make sense if you think about it in that sense, because he can press with those wingers. He can drop deep and have Joseph Painsil and Gabriel Peck overlapping him. That's a very dangerous thought. I expect both of those players to be better in 2026 than they were in 2025, more similar to 2024 when they, of course, went to MLS Cup. Royce, rather than playing that false 9 and being forced to do that, he has to come back and play the number 10, which I think is going to be much better for him as well. And I just think there's so much more defensive competition. You brought in a former MLS Defender of the Year in Jacob Glesnes. You brought in Justin Hack, who can play either a center back or that defensive midfield.
Yeah.
You still have Maya Yoshida there. You still have Amiro Garces, who is probably going to bounce back as well, because we saw how good he was in 2024 and not so much last season. And then the same things on the fullbacks. I mean, my favorite fullback in LA is probably Mauricio Cuevas, and I'm not even sure he's going to start.
Yeah.
So it's very competitive defensively there. That's why I think just all-rounded, that team is much better than they were last year, even without Puig.
Let's just say the Galaxy have 4 center backs that the Quakes wish they had.
Yeah.
4.
Absolutely.
So the depth is there. One thing that's a question mark for me and why I have Galaxy a little lower is, can Royce kind of do this all season? Yeah. And I'm not so sure if Tommy can kind of step in Royce's role. But if they get Coutinho, we're kind of cooking. And that was kind of like the rumor around town. It's silly season, so we'll see if that happens.
They'd have to be able to pull off James without a DP slot, but that would be
little 6 months.
But I do like Eric Tommy. I think that Eric Tommy is such a clever signing in that spot where he can come in and
he played a little winger too, right?
He can, but
yeah.
he is that 10. He is a creative midfielder. He will provide assists and link up with those three in attack when Royce is not there. I think it's really a good bounce back and forth. They're both a little bit older. Royce obviously a little bit more. And so when he isn't ready to play, when he needs a break, Eric Tommy can fill in. They can just bounce back and forth a little bit there.
Okay. And then in fourth.
Top four, the home
Yeah, the
field.
top four. Here we go. I have the team that's always in there. The team that's always finding a way. The team that has the player that's bigger than Lionel Messi. Ooh. He came back to the team, and that is the Seattle Sounders. And I'm such a Seattle Sounders truther. Every time I go on some shows, I feel like I'm the only optimist talking about the Seattle Sounders because with Brian Schmetzer, who's also in the running of maybe one of the best MLS coaches of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to be good every year he's there.
Every year.
And I think it's something that, yes, they don't make the flashiest moves. Yes, people miss the days of Dempsey and Obafemi Martins. But, hey, man, you with Garth Lagerwey, you get good MLS talent. And I think Jordan Morris is going to have a bounce-back year. I don't think Danny Musovski is going to score more than him. Mm-hmm. I think Jesus Ferreira is going to finally get back into the form that he was in FC Dallas. Yep. De La Vega's out for a little bit. Yep. But I truly think that this team has depth, and I think they can withstand the time until De La Vega comes back, and I think they'll find their way to do a little late run.
They always do that.
Yeah.
They always seem to do that. At the end of the year, they'll go from sixth and end up in second or third. But that's just the way that they do it.
There's one thing I actually do think about the Seattle Sounders, and I think they're going to add some guy or a player in the summer transfer window, but it's not going to be who you expect. I think there's going to be a team in MLS that's going to need to offload a guy. And I think the Seattle Sounders are going to find a way to bring in more MLS-ready talent. And MLS people that are good, but we're just going to see some European superstars basically have to kind of make space in teams. So, for example, like I could easily see like a Robin Lod come in, or because they have to open up some salary for him. Yep. If Lewandowski comes to Chicago, there's gonna be moves like that.
Yeah, and
I think the Seattle Sounders they just got flexibility because they got rid of Reed Baker Whiting and got some GAM for him.
Absolutely.
So I think Seattle's always a player just in the MLS market. And I know people hate hearing that, but they're going to be good and they're going to be somewhere.
Yeah, I love the way that you think about all of those things and incorporate all of the MLS mechanisms into your thoughts, because that really does affect things throughout the season. And I think a lot of people don't put those into their preseason predictions. I also have Seattle Sounders at the fourth spot. And I just keep thinking to myself, do I always put Seattle Sounders too high? No, this time I think I got them right on, because I dropped them down. I had them third. I brought them back down. This is not a team that cares about winning the Shield. It's not a team that cares about finishing first in the Western Conference. They care about competing in every competition. It's why they're the only club in MLS to have won all 5 major trophies. I am slightly worried about that drop-off in midfield from Obed Vargas to probably Hassani Dotson, but I think, as you have said, they are perennial contenders. It's what they do. Year in and year out, they're going to be in that top 5. And I was honestly surprised when I looked back to see, actually they finished 5th.
Yeah.
Which is low for the Seattle Sounders.
Yeah.
And so...
But I mean, not that different from 4th, right?
Right, exactly. Definitely not, especially in MLS.
And they had a Leagues Cup hangover. I mean, they won a trophy. That felt like the final of the season, honestly.
Good point.
In Seattle.
Against Miami.
Paul
Rothrock is better than Messi, as you alluded to.
It was the highs of highs. Anybody would have a hangover after that, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I totally get that. So let's move into third. The top 3, we've made it. Who's in third place?
Yeah, look, this is my hot take of the year. I think
mine's coming next.
I think this is something that we've kind of alluded to, but Austin FC, to me, is going to be one of the dark horse contenders for the MLS Cup and the MLS Cup playoffs. And I think with Facundo Torres, he's a guy who at some point he had flashes of MLS MVP nominee. And I think him going to Palmeiras and him being in the Brazilian league and him maybe, not having the best time there, he should be coming back into the league better than he left it. So if he can finally reach the levels that everybody expected from him, an MLS MVP nominee, I truly think with Uzuni and Brandon Vasquez and Nelson, this is like a lot of talent around him for him to facilitate. And I think this is a sneaky offensive side. And defensively, still sound. They brought in Rosales from Minnesota as well. And I think this team has just done all the right things. A lot more conservative this year for Roto. And I think that's just what they needed. That's just what the doctor ordered. And I think this is going to, make them a dark horse in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I think we have a lot of the same thought process. Rodolfo Borrell cooking, as you say. The other guy that's cooking, Pat Onstad, that you mentioned, and that's who I have in third place, the Houston Dynamo. Yes, I am buying in, maybe overly so, because I love Mateus Bogusz. As you were mentioning, he is going to be in that number 10 role. I do think it's very funny, though, speaking of Pat Onstad, where he had that quote when Ache left, there is no world where he returns. Guess we're living in that world now, aren't we? He is back. He is older. He's probably not going to play as big of a role, but he's going to play a bigger role in the locker room. And as you mentioned, Guilherme, he scored a hat trick in preseason. Before he came here, he absolutely tore up Serie B in Brazil, got promoted, barely dropped off in Serie A. He will cook, in my opinion, with the space that he's given, especially if you have Mateus Bogusz feeding him and connecting.
And we underrate the Brazilian league.
We do.
Yeah, I think the Brazilian league is very strong. And I would even say top 7 in the world.
Wow. Yeah, I think they're definitely the top league in the Americas.
Yeah.
Next to Argentina. So it's absolutely underrated, I think, from MLS viewpoint. Last season, Ezequiel Ponce finally proved that he can be a double-digit goal scorer. Can he bump that up to 15 with all of these pieces around him? I think he probably can. And similar to how we were talking about Owen Wolf in Austin, again, connecting these two Texas sides, I think Jack McGlynn goes from the guy in Houston to having the weight lifted off his shoulders, maybe a little bit deeper, but more freedom. He can now create without all the pressure of being the number one guy, because you have 3 DPs on this team now. So it is going to be fantastic for all around. I am also a big fan of Lawrence Anali. I saw him debut in Los Angeles when I believe it was his ACL that he tore there. So lots of interesting things there. But that means, Favi, that we have the same top 2.
Yeah.
It's the Vancouver Whitecaps and it's LAFC. Tell me which one is winning the West.
I want to say Vancouver, but LAFC just looks so good.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be LAFC.
And I think we saw little flashes of it. And these guys are tracing greatness. Mm-hmm. And it's Sun is playing unbelievably well. Mm-hmm. And we saw it last night with CONCACAF. This team is going to cook. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a fun show. If they don't win the Supporters Shield, Nashville will, but they're both teams that just look so good offensively.
Yeah. I mean, they absolutely do. Sun and Boanga have already broken records. Now Sun's going to have a full season in this league. Stefan Eustáquio, incredible signing.
Yeah, looks great, man. Looks great.
He looked good the other night when we were watching them absolutely
such a sneaky
apart.
pickup.
Yeah, it really is, because it's on a loan and there's a purchase option. And I saw fans tweeting already during that game, "Oh, I've seen enough. Trigger the purchase option now." It completes the Canadian Revolution.
Yeah.
There you have Schaffelberg coming in. That's now 5 Canadians on the roster under a new Canadian manager in Marc Dos Santos. Moves being made there, and I have no worries about Marc Dos Santos. Some people think there might be a fall off from Chief Cherundolo. I do not see that happening. I just see a better play style.
More belief, too, because it's always hard to play for a guy who is leaving.
And that's a great point, because David Martinez is the guy who I think is going to take a massive leap forward.
He has to.
We saw him already doing so in that CCC game that we were talking about, and I think it's because he's given that confidence for Marc Dos Santos. Steve Cherundolo would constantly
every other week go in the media and say David Martinez is a child. He's not ready to play. He needs to be more focused. He needs to be more mature. He needs to not mess around on the training pitch. He needs to be focused. All of these crazy things. And I watched him and I thought, this guy has incredible talent.
Incredible.
Just instill some confidence in him. Back him a little bit, and he will tear people apart next to Son of Moanga.
Hey.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Prince is gonna ball this year, okay?
Yeah, there it is. There it is. And Vancouver, also going to be great. Ali Ahmed and Jalen Niels did come out.
Jaden Nelson.
Jaden Nelson,
Yeah.
yes, excuse me.
I do it all the time.
I know. Same first name, or close enough. But they replaced with Cheikh Sabali and Bruno Caicedo. Cheikh Sabali looks really good coming in from FC Metz. But otherwise, everything's basically the same there. Muller now has a full season, just like Son. Jesper Sorensen, I'm sure you agree.
Gald as well, yeah.
Is super legit there. So second again, seems right. So LAFC, top of the table.
Yeah.
Can they win a Supporter Shield? I guess we'll find out.
So for me, yeah, it was Nashville versus LAFC for the Supporter Shield, and then it was Chicago or LAFC.
That's right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, that concludes our predictions. You saw it. Tell us what you think in the comments below. We had a ton of hot takes, I know, and I know that we're going to come and get clipped next season. Philadelphia Union already did it to me last year. I'm sorry, Philly. You're probably going to clip me again this year because I put you low, but it is what it is. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time on Upper 90.